Hey everyone, welcome back to Xraised, where knowledge meets inspiration in the intricate dance of industry evolution. This is Miles, your host, and I'll guide you in today's episode, which I've been pretty excited about. You know how in some industries things change fast, and in others, glacial would be an overstatement. And that's why we'll be joined by someone who's lived in both. She's taken her sharp mind from the courtroom, where legal arguments unfold over months or even years, into the world of legal tech where change can happen at the speed of a keystroke. And let me tell you, she's not just keeping up, she's leading. After years spent in litigation trenches, our guest saw a tech void in the legal industry and she stepped in to fill it. Not with more jargon or clunky software, but with MiAI Law, a purpose-built legal AI solution developed by lawyers for lawyers. Most of you may be familiar with her as the courtroom visionary turned tech pioneer, and I'm glad to have her back to the show. So, let's start this discussion with the co-founder and chief executive officer of MiAI Law, Laina Chan. Hi.
Hi,
Hello, it's nice
I
to have
was
you again.
not a visionary in the courtroom
Yes.
because I don't necessarily want visionaries in the courtroom. They just want people to make the legal problems, provide a solution to the court to a legal problem with the simplest pathway to the end result. It's always about simplifying a
Mhm.
complex problem down to its bare bones and presenting the argument to the court in as simple a way as possible. Because, for the court, it's the first time really they've even come to consider your problem, whereas you as the counsel may have been working on the case for years, so you know it intimately, but you
Yeah.
have to think about it from the point of view of the bench. But for them, they may not have opened the materials until the day before.
Yeah, I like how we started making it simple. And of course, it's nice to have you again, Lena, because every time you return, you bring a fresh wave of insights. And I love that. And today, you'll bring us into the smart, often chaotic collision of traditional legal practice and AI innovation. And I'm ready to decode this with you. So first, we know you've had a career steeped in litigation. I imagine you've seen just about every inefficiency possible in the legal workflow. So what recurring frustrations or gaps made it clear to you that a tech-driven solution was overdue?
Well, well, the primary issue is that humans only have so much capacity. Even if you're totally capable, you're a genius, whatever, your brain and your time is limited. So there's a scarcity of time and cost because no client is going to want to pay for, infinite amount of money for you and your team to come up with the best answer. And also over the years, I have worked on many, 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 many cases and read many, many cases, but I can't remember. And also, that's historical knowledge that has to be brought up to date anyway. So I thought that if we could use AI to scan the depth and breadth of every single uh, case law in Australia. Not everyone. I haven't gone down to every single tribunal or every single agency. I haven't done that, but
Mhm.
we look at all the superior courts, the Supreme Courts, the district courts, and sometimes I don't think we look at the local courts and some tribunals because some tribunals in Australia have exclusive jurisdiction for certain areas of law. For example,
Mhm.
NCAT in New South Wales has the exclusive jurisdiction for retail tenancies. So we look at those tribunal decisions as well. And so, but the fact is, for any question that a user asks us now, the MyAI Law will look and scan the entire database of cases from that jurisdiction, of all
Mhm.
the jurisdictions that I've named. And when I say case law, we're not actually, I'm happy to reveal this. We don't actually scan the actual cases themselves. But what we have done is that for every single case that we look at, we analyze it and we extract certain information. And
Mhm.
when any research comes through, what we are searching is our own case analysis. We do not search the original cases again.
Okay.
So that's what we do. But we search everything and we search everything and every time a research problem comes in, my code, and I wrote all the code for all the legal algorithms, causes the machine to execute a set of instructions.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in that way, we've been able to provide our users, or the ones who have tested and the ones who will be testing in a couple of weeks, because that's when we're going to beta,
Mm-hmm.
an answer that is deeper and broader than any human can do in the time. Because each deep search research report only takes about four
Uh-huh.
minutes. And the light research reports only take, they're very quick, maybe 20, 30 seconds. They're very quick. And they're just as accurate as the deep research reports, but they haven't gone through as many iterations to get to the answer. The answer is not as in-depth, but it's still accurate. And so that's what I wanted to solve primarily, the ability to provide the user with up-to-date, accurate answers
Mm-hmm.
that 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 a user can trust. And so that when you're in court as well, and someone names a case, as they
Mm-hmm.
often do, your opponent often names a case that you haven't looked at, you can quickly get the name of the case and retrieve the case summary
Mm-hmm.
from our database,
Yeah.
or run a case summary in, or run the case for summarization in our database, so that it really levels the playing field, doesn't it? So that
Yes.
there's no knowledge gap, or if there is a knowledge gap, that knowledge gap can be closed very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And even
Fact-based.
judges have said to me that that would be really useful for them if when they're sitting on the bench, counsel name a particular case
Mm-hmm.
that they haven't heard of, they can then run the case summarization for that case.
Mm-hmm.
And then another judge has also said to me that uh, use he could use MiAI Law to check whether the submissions that the parties have put to him are actually correct.
Mm-hmm.
So it really closes the knowledge gap.
Mm-hmm.
And
And leveling the
what's
playing.
that word that everyone loves using? Democratizes law, right? So that it's
Yes.
not just the people who can afford the most expensive of representation, or the
Mm-hmm.
biggest teams, who can then get the answer quickly and efficiently.
And with accuracy, fact-based information. And
Yes.
the human brain is powerful going back, but it wasn't exactly built to sift through decades of dense case laws,
Yes.
as you said
Yes.
quickly. So what you describe is exactly where tech should step in, not to replace, but to
Yeah.
reinforce. And it's like pairing a brilliant mind with a digital twin that doesn't get tired, or as I've said before,
Yes.
doesn't need coffee breaks.
Yes. And also what I love is that the AI, because it is able to look at the entire database, scan through the
Yes.
entire database too. And of course we set limits as to when it can stop.
Mm-hmm.
But by doing that, the AI has the ability to draw patterns between different areas of law. And eventually we will have a feature where you can compare the approaches in various jurisdictions. At the moment, I think you'll be able to compare the approach within Australia in the various states and territories for particular issues and
Mm-hmm.
maybe particular pieces of legislation. But as our database grows, then you'll also be able to compare how Australian law compares to English law, for example, or
Uh-huh.
US.
Yeah. Now, I'm pretty sure stepping from the courtroom, Lena, into the tech world is not exactly a subtle pivot. What were some of the early mindset shifts you had to make as you move from legal argumentation to leading a legal tech company?
Well, I've been doing programs at Harvard Business School since 2018, and
Mhm.
and when you're a barrister, you're still a sole practitioner. You have to only work for yourself because that's the bar rules. You're servants of all and yet of none, but you still have to run your business.
Mhm.
So you still have to develop. Every barrister still is running their own law practice. So in terms of that, that is not so different. But what is really and what is similar in both practices is for me is the drive for excellence. So
Mhm.
the product has to be excellent, whether or not it's me as a Barrister or me delivering this MiAI Law. And in fact, yesterday and the day before, I was doing this 2-day Hogan certification course, which is the psychology test that I give to uh, well, to candidates who want to work at MiAI Law. But I
Okay.
needed to, it's a personality test and it shows personality wise anyway, whether they're a fit for the company. And I
Mm-hmm.
had done the test and I didn't really understand it because actually it was revealed yesterday that I hadn't been given all the subscales because they test various capabilities and then within the broader um, test scores that come back, there are all these subscales that come back.
Okay.
And I scored really, really strangely. It said that I was low prudence, which meant it suggested that I had low attention to detail. But then when we looked at the subscales, that wasn't correct. What it was really showing was that I scored 100% in the desire to master any subject matter. So that for me, it's really important to have look at everything deeply and broadly.
Mm-hmm.
But that where I had scored lower was that I was willing to take risks and
Mm-hmm.
I was willing to go with new ideas and I was willing to innovate. And
Mm-hmm.
so overall, when they grouped all the numbers together, it looked like they had low prudence and low attention to detail, but that wasn't true at all
Mm-hmm.
because what it showed I had a real drive for excellence. And then it also showed that I had a tendency, there was a risk that I would be too hardworking, too diligent, etc. And it also showed that I also got 100% in all of these other markers where it was really important to me for science and learning, etc. And so all
Oh.
those things come together
Uh-huh.
to show why I'm doing this. That yes, it's really important for me to master the subject matter, but I'm also willing to take risks, right? No normal person,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, would suddenly just think I'm going to throw all this money behind this enterprise and develop a solution that we don't know. We think the users will want, but we don't know for sure whether the users will actually want to subscribe to it. And so I think that's a difference. When you're a barrister, you do the work because the client has come to you and briefed you to do the work. But then when you are the CEO of a tech company, of a startup,
Mm-hmm.
you think you're solving a problem, you hope you're solving a problem, and that you're building a product that people actually want, but you don't know for sure. So you really have to back yourself. And so my personality test showed that I'm the type of person who is willing to take that risk.
Yeah. Wow, what a brain stretch, Lena.
Yeah,
You're
that's
trained to think
right.
of, I mean, you're trained to think in terms of one client, one outcome, but now building tech, that's
Yes.
different. That scale, that's betting
And
that your solution can solve 1,000 headaches across an entire profession.
millions of headaches. And
I
so
know.
that's what June, who's our chief
Dr. Arjun.
John, he's
Uh-huh.
what is he? He's our chief technology advisor, our chief tech
Uh-huh.
advisor. And last week I solved the problem of legislative research from first principles so that you can actually ask the AI, for
Mhm.
example, this was a question we put to it. I own a shop. I have CCTV footage of the path. A
Okay.
crime has taken place outside
Mhm.
our the shop, and the police want me to give them the CCTV footage, and it says, do I breach any Privacy Act obligations, etc. if I do that? And so our AI can go and retrieve the latest version of the Privacy Act and go through it and then give you the answer as to basically the answer is yes, you can give the police the CCTV footage, but it steps through step by step by step why
Mhm.
that is so. It retrieves the actual legislative provisions. It reasons through it all from first principles. And so that's the importance of MiAI Law. We're solving a problem that no one else has solved before. Everybody else, LexisNexis, Thomson Reuters,
Mhm.
OpenAI, any of those language models, they only rely on secondary sources. They only rely upon what someone else says is the law. They
Okay.
don't go back to the source. They don't go back to the base principles and the base rules. And the significance of that is that if you throw a novel question, a novel scenario that
Mm-hmm.
that you come up with, and
Yeah.
you ask LexisNexis or you ask OpenAI, it won't know the answer unless somewhere out there on the internet or on the LexisNexis database, for example,
Mm-hmm.
there's someone else who has talked about that particular scenario,
Yes.
or then it will retrieve that answer.
Mm-hmm.
But it will not be able to reason from first principles if that scenario has not been the subject of somebody's writing or somebody's judgment.
Okay.
Whereas we can reason from first principles, and novel scenarios don't throw us off. We'll go
Mm-hmm.
into, our database of all the cases that we have analyzed, and we will then extract all the relevant principles and all the relevant rules that do apply to
Mm-hmm.
this particular factual scenario, and we'll be able to work out from first principles and give you the answer. So, for example, a barrister next door to me had asked LexisNexis a
Mm-hmm.
question about in what circumstances can an insured under an insurance policy ask for their own nominated barrister. And
Okay.
this comes down to a question of what the insurance policy says, but there's also a lot of case law on this issue. And he had asked Lexis AI this question, and it was unable to answer. And so he actually asked for his money back from LexisNexis, but then LexisNexis said, "Oh, let us give you some training." And
Okay.
so they asked him about the question he had asked, and then they put the blame on him, and they said that, "Oh, actually, it's your fault because your question is too complex. It even uses brackets, which is just
Uh-huh.
ridiculous." And so we put a question that he wanted to put into MiAI Law, and I told him, "Don't worry, we can handle brackets." And we can
Okay.
handle the whole complex scenario because we are not just a wraparound open AI. We're not just a wraparound and
Mm-hmm.
language model where you just do some prompt engineering and throw the question with the LLM into your database and then close your eyes and hope that something is going to come back. So we asked the question, and we got a I did a light research report for him, and I did a deep research report for him, and it gave him the answers from first principles. And
Mm-hmm.
I keep talking about the fact that we do everything from first principles, and this is the significance because my former editor from LexisNexis, who I worked with for 3 years, I used to submit all my articles and the work I was doing for LexisNexis because I was a writer and on the editorial board for the Insurance Law Bulletin. And
Uh-huh.
I also updated the whole Annotated Insurance Contracts Act. And now he's no longer working at LexisNexis. He's off in Japan doing his PhD, but he now
Okay.
works for us for LexisNexis. Sorry, for MiAI Law,
My
and he's
law.
checking the accuracy of all of our outputs.
Yes.
And and he's the one who encapsulated it so neatly for me. And he said the reason, the key difference between us and everybody else is that we don't rely on secondary materials.
Mm.
And any secondary materials that we rely on, obviously, has just been created by us because we've analyzed the cases and we've prepared our own secondary materials. And that is why we can answer novel problems that
Mm.
other research models cannot answer.
Okay, so it can handle a more complex data while providing more credible answers from first principles.
Yes.
So now I want to circle back to your courtroom days, Lena, because I imagine they left a strong imprint. How did your litigation experience shape your vision for what legal tech should actually deliver?
I think I just know what problems we have to solve. And at the end of the day, when you're a barrister, you're an officer of the court. So you're there to serve the court and to help the court get to the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
You're not actually supposed to be just there to, well, you are there to do the best thing by your client, but you have to do it in a way that you don't mislead the court, that everything you give the court has to be accurate. And so that plus the fact that I also wrote a lot, researched a lot, and published in peer-reviewed journals where everything has to be footnoted. So when you submit, I remember 10 or 12 years ago when I submitted my first article to a peer-reviewed journal for publication,
Uh-huh.
I think that was either LexisNexis or Thomson Reuters. It came back and every single sentence had to be footnoted. It was so painful. It's just so painful that you can't say anything without a reference. And so you send an article away, it's like 5,000, 10,000, or 15,000 words, and they accept my work for publication. But then every single sentence, they say, you haven't footnoted this, you haven't footnoted that, you haven't foot. It's extremely painful. But then you learn that you can't say anything without backing up your source. I mean, you have to have a source. You have to be able to
Yes.
back up everything you say. And that's the same thing in court, that when you are putting an argument to the bench, you
Mm-hmm.
have to be able to back it up with an authority. Nobody really cares what you think. It's what it's yes, it's your interpretation of what the cases say. They're interested in that. And the court is interested in your interpretation of what the legislation means, but they're not interested in any rule that you think should apply. If you say a rule applies, you have to explain to them where that rule comes from,
Of course.
exactly where it comes from, and why you say it applies to the fact of the case. So that's what's been really important, right? The I've taken from that the importance of accuracy and the
Yeah.
importance of being able to provide pinpoint referencing.
Pinpoint referencing. And that's the kind of answer only someone who's filed at least hundreds of pages of submissions could give. And that problem in AI is real. I mean, especially in your practice where you can just, shrug and say the algorithm knows best. Because as far as I know, as you said, legal decisions need to be explainable, defensible, and sourced. And your plain.
Exactly. So
Mhm.
that's what we've done. We have not only is every answer footnoted. I mean, every principle that we liked is footnoted to the source with pinpoint referencing. We've also opened up the black box. We
Yeah.
reveal every step of the reasoning process, and we reveal every single case that has been retrieved to for the research problem. And
Yes.
from that entire set of cases that have been retrieved, we don't rely upon every single one to prepare the answer. There's a subset, but that's identified as well. And then
Mhm.
from the subset, we even tell you exactly where we get each thing we rely upon from the case with the pinpoint referencing. And
Mhm.
we've spent a lot of time solving that problem,
Yes.
how to extract the pinpoint reference with accuracy.
Sounds so tedious, Lena. You're bringing courtroom standards into tech, and frankly, the tech world could use more of that discipline. And
Well, actually,
Mhm.
sorry.
Yeah, go
Well,
ahead.
actually, because Arjun said to me, you have to freeze this. You have to freeze this. Otherwise, we're never going to release. And I said, yeah, we're freezing the features, but we need to get. And actually, I said to him a couple of weeks ago, I said, but the pinpoint referencing is not always correct. Is this something we have to live with? And he goes, no, I can fix it. And so well, I think he's a genius. He thinks I'm a genius. I don't think he's a genius. So that he then uh, brought his mind to it because he's just supervising the whole team. There's a
Mhm.
junior partner who's supervising the whole team of developers, and Arjun is right above him, right? And so he only comes in when the team cannot solve the problem. And
Ah,
they couldn't solve this problem of having 100% accuracy in extracting the pinpoint references. And so he came in and he solved it over. I asked him to help from Monday. By Wednesday, it was solved. So it
mhm.
took for him 48 hours to fix it. And now we have 100% accuracy in point-to-point referencing. We still have to solve one problem, but he says it'll be solved soon. That
Mhm.
when a judgment has footnotes, that throws all the numbering out. So we have to solve that. But he says that will be solved soon. Well, he told me today, actually, we'll see. And while he says to me, we cannot strive for perfection
Mhm.
because otherwise we will never ever launch. But then
Yeah.
he also strives for perfection because it's so important for both of us that we get the pinpoint referencing correct. And so
Mhm.
yes, so he accuses me of being a perfectionist, and then at the end of the
You
day,
are, Lena. I
when
can
at
attest to
the end
that.
of the day, when it becomes his problem, and I'm going, look, the team cannot solve, it's not my algorithms. There's nothing wrong with my algorithms, but in the back end, it cannot extract the pinpoint references accurately every single time. Sometimes it's 100% accurate, but not always, right? And so there was one particular case that we were using to test Polyukovich. It's a high court case. It was the extent of uh, the external affairs power. What the Commonwealth had done was that it had made war crimes a criminal offense
Mhm.
retrospectively. So I think war crimes from World War II.
Uh-huh.
And so that case involved seven judges, seven different judgments, and for whatever reason, the AI was struggling. It could not, well, first of all, it couldn't summarize the case properly, but then I fixed that because that's my job. I fixed those algorithms, but then it couldn't extract the pinpoint referencing correctly, and that's my developer's problem because my code is telling it to extract it, but it wasn't extracting it accurately.
Okay.
And then finally, I was saying to Arjun, you just have to help, right? You have to help because we've tried everything and it's not doing it. And then he steps in and he fixed it.
Mhm.
So it's pretty funny. I mean, it's just so important. I just think it's foundational for us to be able, if it's something it's fixable and within our power, then we'll fix it.
Mhm. Well, it's quite a challenge to catch up with you, if I'm being honest, Lena. But my AI is refreshingly lawyer first. So many tools out there are designed to built by developers who've never filed a single pleading. How does my AI lawyer-led design philosophy actually set it apart from the tech for tech's sake crowd?
Well, because developers don't have the legal expertise, they cannot write the legal algorithms. So
Exactly.
I know from lawyers who have worked for Lexis and have tried to help them develop their AI tools. I know that the developers have not been able to translate the instructions from the lawyers into code that actually works.
Mhm.
That's why I believe that they are not getting the accuracy that we are because they're just relying on the language model to go into their database, do a search, and retrieve something,
Mhm.
whatever it might be. But ours is not like that. And I know that the developers can't do it because my whole team of developers, how many of them now are there now? Seven? Seven? They have my entire set of algorithms. They have it all, but they can't, if something doesn't work, they don't know how to fix it. I have to fix it myself because you can only fix these algorithms, legal algorithms, if you have a deep understanding of the law. And as a developer, unless they're also a lawyer, they don't know enough what to do with the code to fix it to address any particular legal problem. So
Mhm.
that's the difference. That
Yeah.
unless you have that joint capability, the
Mhm.
developer cannot amend or write a legal algorithm. And
Mhm.
I know that there are listeners out there who are probably disbelieving of the fact that a startup like us can actually deliver the accuracy, the verifiability, and the trustworthiness that MiAI Law is delivering compared to
Mhm.
LexisNexis, Thomson Reuters, and Harvey,
Yeah.
right? And they probably cannot imagine that I could have solved a problem that none of this BMS have solved. And it's not about the revenue. It's not about the fact that yes, LexisNexis, I understand, Reed, the head parent company, earns over $1 billion or pounds a year in revenue. It's
Mhm.
not it's not how much money you throw at the problem. It's the capabilities that you bring to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And you need somebody who can do both, who has the very deep understanding of the law and the ability to distill complex problems down to simple solutions and the ability to code that up and to code that up in a way that my algorithms work across every single subject matter area of law.
Hmm. And that's the sweet spot because you're the brain who understands the code and can fix the algorithms as well. I mean, a
So I
platform,
write and I fix it. That's right.
yes, and a platform that thinks like a lawyer, not just, scrapes the internet and throws up something hoping it sticks. You're baking the logic into the tech, which is why I see my AI as more than just a tool. It's like a co-pilot. And this,
I hate that. I hate that Copilot bit phrase because not Thomson, is it
are they using
Microsoft
it?
uses it? They all use this co-pilot, co-counsel, code this, code that. I hate that because it's like, I just hate that. I just feel it's like such an overused term. And anyway, it's Microsoft's. Microsoft has like, they've like appropriated the use of the phrase
Ah,
co-pilot.
I see. Okay, let's re-record this part. Not just
Yeah.
kidding.
No, you can use it. No, you can use it, but I understand what you mean. It's just
Well,
that,
this transition of yours, Lena, must have stretched your leadership style, switching from legal chambers to agile sprints. What have you learned about leading through such a profound professional pivot between two very different cultures? I mean, AI and law.
but it's still about excellence. It's
Mm,
the culture of my AI law. You're comparing the culture of my AI law to the culture of me as a barrister, and for both, the culture is still excellence. We still have to do the best that we can, and so what I have found is that you have to hire people who have the same culture, who subscribe to the same culture. And previously, we had some people involved in the company who didn't fit with the culture and it
mhm,
didn't work, and they're all gone now. But now we have 21 people involved in the company, and every single person involved in the company has this same culture for excellence.
mhm.
And we've all been working really hard, me in particular, but everyone else, because I'm getting code and things from my developers from sent at midnight. I don't tell them to do this, but they're sending me stuff at midnight, their
Okay.
time, because we're all pushing to make sure that our product works and is ready in time for the launch. And Keenan, who's my new legal researcher, my former editor from LexisNexis, he's only been working for us for 10 days, but he's already put in so many hours. And he said that it's really easy to work so hard when you know that everyone else is also working this hard because we're all working with the same common goal. We all have the same desire and the belief of the importance in excellence. And
Mm,
so we're all pulling in the same direction. So I think it's really important when you put together a team that you are fine, that you only bring people on board who have the same belief system. And
mhm,
for us, it is the fact that we all believe in excellence. And so to all my developers all went to, I think most of them went to IIT, which is the equivalent of the MIT in India. And the acceptance rate is 1.5%. And I think we take the top of that. So, and they all love the fact that what we are working on is a world first.
mhm.
And I provide them with feedback from in relation to our product from all the meetings that I go to, and it just motivates them.
Yeah. Well, that's refreshing. As one of our regular guests would always say, excellence is contagious. And when it's your baseline, every meeting becomes a masterclass. And your leadership style, Lena, seems to carry the same precision and integrity you brought to the courtroom. So, thank you so much for showing us how powerful it is when someone who understands the trenches steps up to build the ladder. As always, I appreciate your time to pull back the curtain on this transformation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Miles.
Thank you. So, folks, head over to myai.law and check out the proof that innovation doesn't have to be intimidating and that true disruption can come in a barrister's robe with a startup spirit like Lena's. And thank you for tuning in and for inspiring us to provide more insightful episodes like this one with Lena. We'll be back for more. This has been your host, Miles. Stay focused and inspired with Xraised.